What's up YouTube? Welcome back to Flying Dutchman videos. Welcome back to part 9 of my Bioshock Infinite Let's Play. We are in the Hall of Heroes, and this is, or what, at least we're on our way to the second little combat area in this creative part of the game. Hall of Heroes is a pretty self-serving, oh, that's also the wrong word, but pretty much a location where Comstock, which Comstock built for his own glorification. No, it's handy if you want, like that rotunda in the center. You can find out, a bit of Colombia's history if you want to.
What does he mean?
You don't want to know.
So the implication here is that Booker was at the Battle of Wounded Knee, which plays into the game in a way I probably shouldn't ruin yet. So we'll leave that for some later time. It's annoying stuff about the backstory. Like, there's a lot of stuff that only comes to a head hours later, so you can't really, if you're doing a video of it, you can't really tell people about it. I'm changing my stuff up a bit. Don't know if you guys have had this, but like, especially during my normal playthrough, I ended up just largely ignoring all of the gear I had. Like, it just stayed the same once I had all the categories filled up, which might be a bit of a stupid way to play the game, because some of this stuff really has some nice benefits for you. Of course, you're gonna have to like change it up to suit your own playstyle. But
the savage horde could only yield.
You were there. At Wounded Knee. I can see it in your face.
Again, it's the same idea as the Pay King combat area. This is gonna drop in. This is not a really creative part of the game. They're just gonna drop in a bunch of regular enemies and one larger one. Which is in this this area, if I remember correctly, is one of those Raven guys. Yep, there he is.
You did them a favor, Booker. You let them die like men.
I didn't ask for this. I have no quarrel with these men.
Heroes never ask.
I never claimed to be no hero.
Then what are you? If you take away all the parts of Booker DeWitt you tried to erase, what's left? Come back to the rotunda. It's almost over.
The insane part about this, or maybe it's a plot hole, is like, why are these guys
Slate me.
doing like, basically suicide by Booker?
Now that you're out of yours,
Like, they wanted to overthrow Comstock. Comstock's still there, so why are they killing themselves?
Mr. DeWitt. No matter what the outcome.
Comstock took like their soldierly glory away from them. Why is that a reason to kill yourself? something I haven't found out yet. Maybe that's hidden in some kind of voxophone somewhere, but...
I've got what you need, Booker. You will find me past the First Lady's memorial.
Oops. It's a good place to lay an ambush here if you know in advance these guys are coming through the door, which you'll know if you've been watching this video. Just put a trap down there and they'll just walk right into it.
You've seen what Comstock has done to my history. Now see how he's rewritten his own.
The seed of the prophet lay in the womb of Our Lady, but for a single week. Comstock had a child.
It's, if you
Like,
know
Bruce never
anything
mentioned
about
anything about a
human
child.
pregnancy, you know that's bullshit.
It's quite an admission. Can't imagine that was by accident.
Just tells you something about the game. Or at least the
The
game's story.
child took ill, and Our Lady prayed for the prophet's heir day and night.
I think what Slate meant by rewriting his own history is I think Lady Comstock didn't really like her husband, or at least not what he had become.
That's my tower.
Lo, while Daisy Fitzroy has murdered my beloved, she shall not have the child. She shall not come betwixt her and prophecy.
No case.
Seed of the prophet shall sit the throne and drown in flame the mountains of man.
You're Comstock's daughter.
No, I can't be. I can't.
He wants you to follow in his footsteps.
Well, I want a puppy, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna get one.
A little bit of a... Suppose that's a valid analogy.
Need some help with this?
Maybe not an entirely sensible one, but...
To those who loved me, I was the most generous of souls. There was no pain I would deny them, no betrayal I would not gladly give. And when I had scorched the hearts of all who loved me, the prophet said, "There is nothing you can do for which I will not forgive you. For God has granted me sight, and through his eyes, even you are loved."
So this whole mausoleum thing is just a temple to a myth, a construct Comstock put in place in order to keep control of his population, his flock of sheep.
I can get through these bars, but you're too broad. Let me scout ahead, see if there's some way to move forward.
The thing with Infinite, at least the thing I hold against it, is that you can see the combat coming from a
It's
mile
a
away.
tear, something I can bring into the
Every time you get into a large area, you know
That's convenient.
that
As I
by
said, it's a
default
form of
there
wish
is going to be some combat. Which is a bit, too predictable.
Done.
Like, combat has never been Infinite's strength.
Whenever I'd get anxious, tears
That's
have a
been
way of
its
appearing.
story, or rather its
Look,
storytelling
you see those
mechanism.
tears?
But
We can use them against Slate again. That tear
you
will get us
think
access
that
to higher ground.
from all the time they've
That
had
will
to
give us a
work
turret.
on this game, and I know they've probably scrapped major iterations of the game several times, but
Turret now!
they've had a lot of time to work on non-story mechanics, which is why it's a bit frustrating to see that while combat is mechanically sound, it's still very predictable. It doesn't rise above the level of like your average FPS. which if it did, could have made Infinite like a really, really great game. If you had the, it's like I think that's two. Accusation is twofold. Like one, it's not a really good. It's not the greatest shooter, and two, it's more or less exactly like the previous Bioshocks. While that is no, like they weren't like the previous Bioshocks weren't terrible shooters by any means, but like it's like what I Jesus. Trying to come up with these arguments on the fire, but what I'm trying to say is one, it's pretty standard fare, and two, it's predictable, which is a shame, really.
That's enough, Slate.
Because if you've played the previous Bioshocks, you know how these vigors work, because they're not different from your powers in the first two
Want to
Bioshocks.
hold on to this?
Just have a different name.
Here you go. So again, be careful if you're playing this on 1999 mode, because you might be tempted to pop out this vending machine and get yourself some cheaper stuff.
Keep your eye open for that
But that would kill your chances of getting that achievement where you spend nothing on dollar bill machines. So even if you're tempted, don't do it if you want to get that achievement in one playthrough on 1999, because you're gonna screw yourself if you do.
To the sky, Comstock bent his knee and saw with holy prophecy. Too rare is the man who takes a stand for God and sweetest fatherland. Here's the place where we revere the heroes of our city.
That's what Comstock will turn us into. Wires and gears to replace heads and hearts.
Judges, I act.
Good strategy to follow against these guys is that they seem to be really heavily armored on the front. Much more so in 99 mode than in normal mode, but still. The best idea, if you want to take them out quickly, is to get on their rear. Which is easier to do if you have Shock Jockey, because you can stun them and then get on their rear and shoot into the gears on their back, which is where they take the most damage.
Comstock took our stories and scrubbed away our soul.
Yeah, that's not racist at all.
He's coming for me. And when I'm gone, all that will be left is the lie.
Just give us what we came for.
As always, there's a bunch of stuff around
Give it a whirl.
these smallest dungeons, areas you can loot. Suppose that's you can also criticize Bioshock for that. Is that while the voxophone thing seems interesting,
Place is ransacked.
it's unrealistic because it's really focused storytelling. Because why would someone record a diary and only tell you about the stuff that really matters to the story? And two, it's easy because when they have the voxophones, they don't actually need to produce characters for the game. You can just have a voice, which also means they don't have to do cutscenes and work out how these people figure into the game. So I guess that's really like in conjunction with my criticism of the combat, which pretty much can be distilled down to the same thing, is that it's too familiar. It's just like the previous two Bioshocks, which again makes for a good game, but it could be better. And I think the whole thing about the the tears in the parallel universes is this game's saving grace, because that's what makes it interesting.
Slate.
I think if the game didn't have that, it would be on the same level as Bioshock 2, perhaps. Which I guess is also a silly thing to say, because you know, like, Ken Levine is working on this, so you know there's going to be some interesting story mechanic. Because I don't think Levine would have been content with just ramming out another Bioshock.
What is that?
Comstock ships. He's coming for Slate.
It was Slate who killed for his country at Wounded Knee. It was Slate who stormed the gates at Peking. Slate!
Slate!
Comstock's coming, Booker. But our lives won't satisfy him. Oh, no. He won't rest until he's turned us into tin. I won't let him. He took my past. But that's all he's getting from me.
Just give us the vigor. We don't need to do this.
Here you go, boys. A soldier's death awaits.
Tin soldier!
I just thought of this, but maybe this particular part of the game just really exposes some of the deficits in the game's design. Because we just passed through here, we fought, then we come back, and we fight again in the same damn area we just passed through like 2 minutes ago. Which is, to be fair, is just lazy design. I know this is a fairly impressive looking place, and you know it's a good setting for such, like, it's not really a boss encounter, but an encounter like this, which figures into the game story in a major way. But still, they've recycled it. I guess that's a problem of the game, is that it suffers somewhat from a dull part. I don't know if it's if I can say this is the middle part. I don't really know that, but this part of the game, I would say, until you get you get rather deep into think manufacturing, is the dull part of the game, sadly. I think it's the part where a lot of motivations and then foils and what have you, like story-wise, get introduced, but it's slow-paced. Like, it doesn't make for exciting gameplay, unless you as a player can derive excitement just from fighting a lot. Only a fairly small amount of the story comes to a head in this part of the game, such as the fight against Slate.
Come on, DeWitt! Show me what you're made of!
And sadly, you don't fight Slate himself, really. You just fight his minions. I think if you had, if they designed it in such a way that you fought Slate, it would be a whole lot more interesting. They could also probably have done with more development of the Slate character himself, because you know he's a general, a soldier, or something like that. He fought for Comstock. Comstock took his glory as his own, and that's pretty much it. I don't know, but that seems kind of two-dimensional.
Much obliged.
Whereas most of the major characters in these games, in this game, are fairly three-dimensional. So with that, this has been the 9th part of my Bioshock Infinite Let's Play. I will see you guys in the next video. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later.
Finish it! You're a tin man now! A tin man!
Press to shoot a bolt of electricity. Hold and release to create a shocking trap.
You spared him.
It wasn't no mercy. Comstock's men will surely take him.
Do you ever get used to it? Killing.
Faster than you can imagine.